Hi, today I want to show you how filters work inside of Toddle. So, for example, you have a list of specific items and you only want to show the items that are active, or you only want to show the items that are inactive. This is where we use filters to take an array, to take a list, and to only show a new list that follows the specific pattern that we're trying to query. So let's get right started with this. So let's go to Toddle, and first of all, before we can render the list, we need to get data, right? We need to have an API, and I already prepared something on the back end. Xano, it's the fastest enterprise-grade scalable no-code backend that has everything in it. Xano takes care of authentication. They take care of social authentication. They take care of logic, of API, of background logics, of everything, of the database. It's your one-stop shop solution for everything. Also, if you want to get a 10% discount on Xano, I have a link for you in the video description where you can get 10% discount. I think it's forever on your Xano plan, so you might want to look into that. And also, if you want to learn more about Xano, I would highly suggest you to join the NoCode Pro Code community at nocodeprocode.com. But that was enough advertisement. Let's go in Xano, and we got here, as you can see, we got a database with names, and we have is active, is not active. And we want to render a simple list inside of Toddle, and then we want to be able to filter between all that are active and all that are not active. So first of all, we want to duplicate this tab in Xano, and we want to create an API so that we can query that data. Now, there are two ways how we can filter that data. We can filter it on the back end, or we can filter it on the front end. In this example, we're going to filter it on the front end, and after that, I'm going to show you how you could also filter it through the back end. But let's first create an API group, and let's call this filter Toddle. And let's create an API endpoint, and we are going to create a custom endpoint, and we want to make a get endpoint, and we call this get. Here we go. And now inside of the function stack in Xano, we want to add a function, and we're going to go in here of query all records. And now we're going to go to our items. We're going to save this, and now when we run it, we're going to see I am getting my names and active, and if they're active or not. So I'm going to get that. Let's publish this API endpoint, and now we're going to copy the endpoint URL, and now we're going to go inside of Toddle. We're going to create a new API. We're going to call this items, for example. We'll have auto fetch on, and now, as you can see, we're getting the data, right? And we want to have auto fetch on, so it's server side rendered, and we get that SEO benefit from it. And we want to generally only do that though for get endpoints. And now in here, I'm going to add a div block, and inside of the div block, I want to add a little heading that will be the name, and under the name, I want to show like a button that will show active or not active based on the state. But now we got to style it a little bit first so it looks nice. So I want to go to this div block and give it a side padding of 0.5 rem, and maybe even 0.75 rem, like this. And then a top and bottom padding also of 0.75 rem, just like that. Now we can give it a background color of gray 50, for example, and a border, for example, of gray 200. And we can give it a border radius of 13. Now we got that. Now we can go in here and we can give it a 0.5 rem gap, so it's not kissing each other. And in here, we can make the inside of the button, the font a little bit smaller. Let's make it 14 or 13. Oh, 13. And we can make the side padding 0.5 rem and the top and bottom padding 0.25 rem. 0.3 rem. Yeah, that's nice. Beautiful. And now in here, we'll be able to add some classes to make it nicely styled, but we'll do that after we rendered the list. So as you know, we got our data from the API. We now want to take this item and render a list with it. So I'm going to go on this item that I want to render a list of, and I'm going to go to repeat inside of the attributes, and I'm going to bind this to the API response data. And now as you can see, I'm getting my list in here. Now I can go on the item holding it and give it a 1 rem gap, so the list items will have a gap, or a 0.5 rem gap. So I'm going to give them a gap, and I could just, maybe also the one holding it should have a 7 rem top and bottom padding and a 7 rem side padding. Here you go. So I'm rendering a list here. Now, what we can do is we could also make it a little bit nicer so they go on the side. I think that will be nicer. Yeah. So now we got that. So now I want to have this name dynamic because I don't want them all to say heading 3. So I just click inside of this text, and on the side panel I see this FX. I click on the FX under text, and I go to item, name. Now as you can see, I'm rendering the name. And I think we should make them all in the same width. We should all make them 25 rem. Maybe 17 rem. Beautiful. And then I can go to layout and double click on there. So we have it a little bit nicer. And then I can go on this button, and in here we can use a conditional if statement to set the text that either says active or inactive. So let's double click in the text inside of the button in here, and I go on item, active. Beautiful. And now I add my if statement, and actually I want to go on the if statement here, and I want to go to the condition. I do item, active. If active is true, I want to return active, so it says active. And if active is false, I'm going to say canceled. So they are canceled, or we could do inactive, but canceled looks good. Now we can also set the color based on if it's active or inactive. And we could do this with a class as an example. So I could go, let's actually change the default style because I'm not fully satisfied with it. Let's just go to background blue 50, and I'm going to go in here, and the color will be blue 700, and I'm going to add a border of blue 200 around it. Yeah, just like that. And now I can go to attributes and give it a class of canceled, and now we just have the cancel class on it. I create a new style for the cancel class, and the cancel class will have a background of red 50, and it will have a text color of red 700, and it will have a border color of red 200. So that's the canceled state. Now we want to make it conditional. So I go back to attributes, I go on FX, and I'm going to go to item, active, right? And then I'm just adding not, because I want the cancel class if it's not active. Now as you can see, I got the list rendered. The ones that are active are blue and they say active, and the ones that are canceled, they say canceled and they're red. So we visually see that. That's as far as rendering the list. Now we can take this list item and wrap it in an element, just like that. Then we want to make sure that an element, though, has a gap that goes, down, so 0.5 rem, and we can give it a side padding also of 0.5 rem, and a top and bottom padding also of 0.5 rem, and we can go in here and we can make the background gray 50 as an example, and we go to the border, and we give it a border of gray 200, and we give it a border radius of 15 pixels, maybe 20 pixels, just like that. And then I can go in here and actually make this white. And then we got those items in here, and actually I want to center it. Beautiful. And then here's my cool tip for you. You can go to this div and you can set a maximum height of 25 rem as an example. Oh, what's going on in here? Let's take this one. Let's do maximum height of 25 rem, or maybe 20 rem, right? And then I go on layout, and I'm going to make it scroll. And now we're able to scroll inside of this list. How cool is that? Look at that. So we are able to scroll down. So we got that list. Now we don't want to be able to filter based on active and inactive. And this is actually the main topic of the video, but I think we can never talk enough about rendering lists because that's just like something we always do. So let's actually create a button that's just going to say active or inactive. And let's actually move this button over the list so that we can filter it. We want to be able to filter like between active, inactive, non-active. So actually, how about we make this like a radio button or something? So let's see how cool we can do that. Let's wrap this button in a div block, and let's just first style the button so we can copy it easier over. Let's just remove any hover, and let's go in here, excuse me, and we're going to make it gray 50, and the color of this will be gray 700. That looks good. And I'm going to give it a border of gray 200. I'm going to give it a side padding of 0.5 rem and top and bottom of 0.3 rem. And I'm going to give the text size 12 pixels, and we got now active in here, right? So we got active. And now what we can do is we can kind of like make a checkbox. So let's go to Volume Icons. Here we go. And let's look for check box. Here we go. So we got a checkbox that's not checked and that's checked, and that's great. That's exactly what we need. Let's take the unchecked version. Let's copy it. And actually, we may want to have the 16 pixel one. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so we got the checkbox in here, and we're going to have it go on the side, right? And here we go. We'll have 0.5 rem. Here we go. And then actually on that side here, I want to have a little bit less so it looks more professional. We want to center it, and let's make it 0.25 rem. So that looks very cool. We got the checkbox, and now I want to add the checkbox that's checked. So let's copy that for Figma from Volume Icons, and let's paste it in here. And now we will have a filter, right? So we can create a variable called isActive, and let's call this false, right? So right now we're going to get, no, actually true. We want to get all active ones, right? So we get all active ones. Here we go. So now we have isActive, true. Now we're going to go on this SVG here, and we want to set those icons based on the variable as their own visibility. So this SVG icon here, right now it's active, so this should be hidden. So let's look at show, and I want to go to isActive, and if it's not active, this will be hidden. And then I got this SVG, and I go on show, and if it is active, this will be shown, right? So now the variable is active. If I make this false, it will not be checked. And if I make it true, it will be checked. Now I want to trigger this though on button click. So I go on this button and I go on click, and we're going to expand, and now we're creating a conditional statement. So we add a switch, right? And the condition for the switch will be isActive is true, right? We're just, because we are comparing a Boolean true or false, we don't even need to create a formula here. So this part is saying isActive is true if isActive is false. So if it is true, we want to say isActive to be set to false. And if it is false, meaning if else, we want to set isActive, click in here, and we do true, and we add the true value. Now, if we go back, as you can see, we are checking if it's active or not. Just like that. So now we can actually base this on our list. So we're going to go on this div, and we're going to go on the repeat formula, and we're actually going to add a filter on that formula that's rendering the list. And this filter has a formula. So the formula will be active equals, and then we look, our variable that is selected. Right now it is active, so we're seeing all active ones. If I click on not active, I'm going to see all canceled ones. And this is how we filter those things on the front end. Now, there's a more complex use case. For example, what if we want to show all? What we could do, and there are multiple ways how you can solve this in terms of the UI, but let me just show you. We could also make like a radio button, but if you make a dashboard, and this is how I manage my dashboard when I build like a dashboard, I just want to see who's active, who canceled. I don't really care about everyone, but in case you do, let's do that too. So we have this wrapped in a div block. I can copy this button and I take this div block in here. I make it go on the side and I add a gap of 0.5 rem, just like that. And I can call this show all. And now I'm able then to show all. Now we gotta create a different variable, right? So we can create another variable called show all, and that is false. And now we want to go in this SVG in here, and we kind of like want to go back to the show, and we want to map it to the show all variable, and we go on this SVG in here, and I'll map it on the show all. So now as you can see, I'm setting the value for show all, not yet, because I want to go on the actual click button, and I want to update the show all in here. So, and this needs to be, if show all is true, I want to set this to be false, and if show all else is false, I want this to be true. Here we go. So we got that. Now I'm able to set show all or not. And actually, when show all is set, I want to reset this one. So I want this to be false. So if active is true and show all is on, I want to actually kind of like make active false, just for UI purposes. So let's go in here and let's look at click. And what we could do is we could add in here a variable to after the if statement. We could add a variable show all, and we can set it based on its current state. So I can look if is active equals true, right? I don't even need to do that. If is active equals true, I want it to be false, right? So, we could just actually hard code that. We don't even need to do that. We can just hard code it. I can just type in false. So here we go. That should actually do the thing. No, it did not. It did not do the thing. Okay, let's look at this again. So if I go on this button, I click on here. Let's remove this one. Let's see if that works. Okay, beautiful. So that works. And if it is true, and when we set it to true, we want to set is active to be false. That's what we want to do. So if this is true, let's say we have is active on, and we have show all. If show all is active, we want active to be off. And then if active is on, we want show all to be off, if that makes sense. So we go on this button here, and when we set this to be true, I want to go to show all and make it false. Just like that. So when I make active on, show all is off, and when I make show all is off, active is off. If I turn show off, like off, and now we have all canceled ones, and then I have all active ones. And then now I have to make some logic to actually show all if show all is on, if that makes sense. So now we go back to the list here, to the repeat function, And what we are going to do is we actually need to wrap this, in a conditional statement. So let's restructure this a little bit. So first of all, I want to add an if statement. Let's make it bigger because we're working with a bunch of data now. Let's add an if statement in here. And I'm going to look if show all is true, then I just want to return all items, the data. And then on else, I'm going to return all items. And then with the filter on, with looking at data, I had to click on data, and then I want to filter if active equals, like the current active one of the current iteration. What this does is it loops through the whole array and compares it with our isActive variable. So now what it does is we have like this funnel logic. First of all, we look, is show all true? If is show all is true, I just return the whole payload, the whole list. And then if it's not true, this is when we do the filtering. We take the list and we filter based on, is the current item, does it equal the value that is currently active? And then we have, we get the active ones and the inactive ones. This is like we reduce it down to like a funnel system. So if I turn show all off, right now I get all canceled one because it's not active. If I make it active, I get all the active ones. If I make show all, I'm going to see all. If I turn show all off, right now active is off, so I see all canceled ones. If I turn active on, I see all this ones. And if I make show all on, I will see, all those ones. Now, there is a different approach how you could do this. I just want to show you real quick that it is possible, but, it will take a little bit more time, but only makes sense if you have hundreds of thousands or millions of records. In Xano, if you do query all, you can also do a custom query. And you could set this conditional based on an input, based if active equals an input that your API would provide, and then you would just redo the API call every time one of those variables changes. This will put the logic from the front end on the back end. It will make it a little bit slower, but more powerful and faster if you work with a bunch of data, millions of records. But generally speaking, it shouldn't be that issue. And if you really work with a bunch of data and need filtering directly client-side, you should be using something like a Grid or, looking into a little bit more powerful solutions that are made for scale. But this is good if you have under 1 million records that you're rendering, which, is more than likely the normal case. Like talking 1 million that you need to filter, not going to happen too many times. But this is how you make those filters. On the front end, you can look for all active ones, all inactive ones, and then you can show all. And then you got a nice list and you got some nice visual indications. This is like the basics of lists and filtering inside of Toddle. I hope this really helped you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that. And if you want to learn more about filtering, if you want to learn more about Toddle, if you want to learn more about Xano, especially the backend parts, how to work with AI APIs, how to work with APIs in general, we got pre-made Toddle boilerplates for your next SaaS venture. We got step-by-step courses, dozens of hours of step-by-step courses on NoCodeProCode.com. We got a whole component library with pre-made components, Stripe elements, a Grid, really everything you could ever need, all those advanced components. We got daily support office hours where if you're stuck with a template, if you're stuck with something, we're here to help you. We got pre-made Xano snippets, so you can skip the complicated and repetitive things on the backend and just go right into the fun parts. And we got exclusive tutorials. Everybody is loving it. Lee is loving it. Greg is loving it. And Leonard built his app 50% faster. Otherwise, he would have it done by Christmas, but he got it done. So that's great. And yeah, if you want to join, it's a 3-step process. You make a little video application. it takes 12 hours to be reviewed, and then you'll get the early access link for you to join. And we already have, I think, over 40 or over 50 hours of educational content on there, and a few hours are added every day. So it's just growing from here, and we got like this whole library of educational content. It's like a search engine growing every day with templates, with everything. So if you want to join, go to nocodeproco.com. The link is also in the video description and in the pinned comment, and you can join, and you'll be in there ASAP, and you'll get benefits and really cool tools. We even have a tool now that lets you paste any Relume element inside of Toddle. Actually, let me show you that. So this is the membership page. You see, we got, you know, a bunch of content. I just today or tonight uploaded a course on how to make AI agents in Xano using open source llama models that basically don't cost you anything. And then how to use style variables. We have a whole crash course on style variables, just filmed that yesterday night. And then we got like a touch swipe plugin for Toddle. We got like a compliant fonts course. We got a bunch of stuff. We got the daily office hour recordings, and they are all transcribed. So you can always go in the transcribe and search for things. For example, swipe, right? And then you go to the part that interests you, just like that.
Back, but no, you
And
swipe.
you see exactly how other people solve their problems. How to make web scrapers. We got a whole course with template on that. And, you know, we got the Toddle buddy, Toddy. And also, you know, you got daily office hours. So it's a great offering. We got dozens of hours. I think we're close almost to, I think by next week we should have, I think, about 100 hours of content on there. So it's growing constantly. But I want to show you the coolest thing I've worked on. If you go to Relume library, you are now able to use the tool I have on the membership side to copy Relume components inside of Toddle. So let me log into Relume real quick. And let's see if I still remember my password. NoCodeProCode.com. Let's see. Let's put an ad in here. And let's make this. Let's hope it's the right one. Okay, thank God. Okay, beautiful. Let's go in here, and we go to the React library from Relume. What should we do? Let's take like a login screen. That's something we could use. And let's view the code. We'll copy the HTML, right? Here we go. And now if you were just to paste this in Toddle, right? It'll look like this. It'll not look, it won't be Relume, right? It'll look slightly worse than Relume. But if you go to the membership side, and I got too many tabs, and you go to Toddy and you paste your Relume code in here, this will be fully converted to something that you can paste in Toddle. And as you can see, you got your Relume components now ready to be styled inside of Toddle, and you can work even faster. And it works with UIverse, it works with every Tailwind library, and we got that tool exclusively for all members. And I'm also still working on the tool that lets you build Chrome extensions. We have the first members already tested out, and then this will improve the tool over time. We got the first beta testers, and everybody who is a member will get access to will receive a free enterprise account for the Chrome extension builder that lets you build Chrome extension NoCode using Toddle and Whist if you want. And you will be able to create unlimited Chrome extensions and even create Chrome extensions via API automated, if that is ever interesting to you. And that's part of the NoCode ProCode offering. And I hope that maybe one day you'll join, or regardless on if you join or not, we got exciting stuff coming on YouTube here. But if you want more exciting stuff and you want to move faster, this is where the best place to learn and build faster in Toddle and Xano is the right place for you to be in. But thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. If you are a member of NoCode ProCode, see you tomorrow at the office hours, and see you inside of the forum. But, thank you so much for watching. If you want to join, it's nocodeprocode.com. The link is in the video description below. But Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.